Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Ought album, More Than Any Other Day. This is the debut full-length album from Montreal-based post-punk, art-punk outfit Ought. Earlier this year, they hit me with a few songs from this forthcoming record that got me scratching my chin. Not just because there's hair on it. Songs that sounded like these guys were picking up a lot of cues from the vocals of guys like David Byrne of Talking Heads with this really eccentric, erratic delivery. And some pretty unusual lyrics too that center around some odd topics, or everyday life, or some hilarious statements. Take the title track of the song where the vocals tell the listener the title of the song and then say that the listener should open up their textbooks or a magazine, whatever reading material they can get their hands on. It's completely absurd. It's ridiculous. It's funny. It's clever. It's smart. It's interesting. It's off the beaten path. It reminds me of my boys over here in MX80 Sound, or like some of the mid-80s slacker groups out there like Camper Van Beethoven, I don't know. And this same spoken word eccentricity shows up as well on the song Around Again, where we're getting some thought-provoking statements on the subject of God. Those are just the lyrics though. Musically, it sounds like Ought pulls from artists like Cap'n Jazz or even Slint a lot more. The band occasionally writes songs like the track Habit that are based off of these very slow, loosely played instrumental builds that get more intense as the band continues, layering on keyboards and violin, especially toward the back end of this track where the song gets very Velvet Underground-esque, but the vocals on top of this musical moment are much more manic. And there are other spots on here too where the band brings much more tightly grooved tracks with more nimble bass lines and very detailed drum beats, reminding me of bands like the Feelies or even Mission of Burma, you know, that more artsy side of punk rock. This happens on the song The Weather Song. I love the head bobbing groove on this track. And I love the transition in the song from the verse to the chorus as the band brings in these really punchy keyboard chords. And the way that the band plays through the track is interesting too. It's like they're repeating the same parts over and over, but as they get closer to the finish, they're just playing a little more intense, a little louder, just digging in a little harder. I like that the recording on this record tries to maintain kind of a live in the moment feel, even if it is a little messy or a little too cacophonous at times with the drums and the guitars swallowing the vocals a little bit more than I would like them to. And when things get loud, the drums and the guitars clash a little awkwardly as well. There are just moments where I think the recording could be better, but for the most part it does sound enjoyably raw. The band continues to deliver decent songs, but even with these newer tracks, the comparisons to other artists out there don't really stop, at least in my head. Like the song Forgiveness, which is this wandering, sort of directionless ballad that floats atop this bed of violin phrases. That reminds me a little bit of Simon Joyner, especially with how the vocals are just moaning really painfully. And, you know, even though I know it's really hard for a modern band not to sound like at least someone in the past, I guess the strong similarities to other artists that I'm hearing and just the plethora of different artists that it seems like Ought may or may not listen to, it can get a little distracting for me from time to time. And I guess that's because I don't really find Ought's approach all that distinct, though I do think they do their influences justice. There are even moments on this LP like the opening track with the really bouncy, sort of dreary guitar phrasing toward the back end of the song that really reminds me of Women, another great experimental sort of off-kilter lo-fi indie rock band from Canada. Again, I think this band channels its influences really well for the most part. I think they do them justice. I think they write some good slow burners. I think there are some moments here where they create a really nice ruckus and top it with some interesting lyrical ideas, but is the ruckus always memorable? There are some moments here where I think no, but for the most part, yes. Though I do think this is a relatively solid record, there are some parts here where it feels like Ought trying to draw their instrumentation out, which they do a lot on this LP. The songs on here are not incredibly short or anything like that. There are 6 or 7 minute tracks on this LP. The 2 shorter songs on here are just about 4 minutes. So as the band is drawing out these instrumental moments on these longer songs, they can lose steam here and there. Still, I am feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this LP. Transition, if you've given this record a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it, hate it, why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Ought, forever.